How do you grow a thick skin? You know, I was working with a client of mine who was promoted to a leadership role about a year ago, and we were going through his 360-degree review results, and the topic of growing a thick skin, or topic of thick skin, came up. And you know, we're all going to face criticisms at some point in our careers, and more so for people who are in leadership roles or people who are public figures. You know, it's a virtual certainty that you will face criticisms in your career. But for the rest of us, you know, there's going to be times when we do face criticisms, either through our peers or from our bosses or what have you. And how we handle these criticisms will bear impact on our careers. You know, if you are thin-skinned, if you react quickly, if you shy away from opportunities that will expose you to criticisms, you know, these are going to be, these are real career limiting moves. But if you are able to handle criticisms productively, you know, if you have that thick skin, then it could shoot your career into stratospheres you can't imagine. So how do you go about building this thick skin? How do you go about growing this thick skin, learning how to handle criticisms productively? Well, I'd like to share with you 3 strategies. So the first thing to do is, in your mind, welcome feedback, both good and bad feedback. You know, when you're open to more feedback and you ask for more feedback, you're gonna get both good feedback as well as you'll get more criticisms. And the more criticisms you get, the more opportunities you have to build thicker skin. You know, it's just pure math. You know, you can't build thick skin in isolation. You know, I'll give you an analogy here. In Thailand, there's a martial art, there is a kickboxing style called Muay Thai. And in this art, in this Thai boxing art, the fighters or the practitioners actually do a lot of kicking with their shins. Now, the problem with this is the anatomy of the shin, the human anatomy of the shin is not very strong. You know, it's probably, when you're kicking at the intensity that these fighters kick, the chances or the probability of them breaking their shin is very, very high. So what they do to condition their shins is they expose it to small doses of trauma and alternate with healing and rest. So, and they do that by essentially kicking tree trunks. So they expose their shins to a lot more trauma by kicking tree trunks and giving it an opportunity to rest. And what that does is that builds that, first of all, that deadens the nerves, and it builds a layer of skin and bone underneath the shin that toughens up their shin, and that allows them to essentially compete in their fighting matches and survive by kicking their opponents the number of times that they kick their opponents, and actually they survive, their shins don't break. So it may not feel good in the moment when you're getting your critical feedbacks. You know, you may feel that hurt and that pain and that anger, but just know that that's internal trauma that you're feeling. Just like how those Thai fighters expose their legs to trauma by kicking by kicking tree trunks, you're exposing yourself to just small doses of trauma. And the more you do, the stronger you become. You know, it's my mentors used to call it character building moments. You know, the more I put myself out there, the more criticisms that I got, the tougher basically it made me. And they were right. It made me incredibly tough in the marketplace, especially in my career as a management consultant. So same analogy here. Give yourself that opportunity to build thicker skin by just being more welcome to feedback. Bring in, accept critical feedback, and know that the more you do, the more opportunities you have to build thicker skin. The second thing to do is, when you get criticized or when you get critical feedback, don't react. Pause. You know, most people, they tend to react angrily. They will retaliate or push back when they get critical feedback, or they retreat and fold when they get critical feedback. You know, they go and hide away in their corner, or you know, fold into the fetal position in their offices or their homes or what have you, right? And what happens when you do this, when you react, is essentially you miss an opportunity for growth. And the way you give growth a chance is by pausing. Pausing and thinking about this, what's going on here, thinking about the critical feedback and trying to figure out what are the underlying drivers here, and doing that with a cool head. When my client was going through his 360-degree review, which was largely positive, he noticed that the negative feedback was coming from certain individuals that he had some issues with. For the large part, he was fairly successful in his first year leadership role, but he did have some performance issues with a couple of individuals in his group. And these are the individuals who he figured out were giving him these negative feedbacks, these critical feedbacks in his 360-degree review. And they were doing it, and we could easily tell that they were doing it basically to inflict some damage or some harm onto him, because ultimately, at the end of the day, my client is going to have to discuss this review with his boss. And so they saw this as an opportunity to inflict some damage to him. And my client was fuming mad at the thought of this. He was going to do this coming year to basically make their lives a living hell. And once we talked about it, once we calmed down, we took a moment to pause before he did anything, before he made any decisions. We took a moment to pause and really think through, okay, what's really going on here? What's really behind this critical feedback? And we realized it really wasn't a reflection on what my client did or didn't do as a leader. It wasn't a reflection on my client's leadership capabilities. What it was a reflection of the pain and hurt that these two individuals were feeling as a result of my client basically stepping into this leadership role. Because what my client revealed to me was that these two individuals were very close with the previous leader. And what we may not know is whatever deal that they had at the back with the previous leader, in terms of whether or not their lives, like how he made their lives easier in their jobs. And so what my client wasn't aware that, or we realized that essentially my client wasn't aware of any of these agreements that may have been in place between just the people, between the previous leader and these two individuals, as to what was expected from each other. And he realized he didn't have that conversation with those two individuals, basically assuming that everybody was there to perform as per their job description. So what we realized is this was an opportunity for conversation. This was an opportunity for my client to essentially have a conversation with those two individuals to really understand their point of view, which he hadn't done in this previous year. So that's really, that's growth. That's growth for my client. That's growth for those two individuals, those two performance laggards. That's growth for the relationship between the client and those two individuals, and maybe even growth for the performance of the group that my client was leading. That's the positive that comes out of taking pause. When you receive this critical feedback, is you start to realize that there's an opportunity here. And so when you pause, when you make a habit of pausing in the face of criticism, and you're really searching for that opportunity of, what's the opportunity for growth here, you essentially begin to demonstrate thick skin. And lastly, remember that it's not always about you. When people criticize you, sometimes they're doing it not because of something you did, but it's because of something that you represent in their mind. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. And what you have to do, what this means is sometimes what you have to do is you just have to give people the opportunity to speak, say their piece, and then just move on. There's nothing that you can do can fix the image or whatever is going on in people's minds that they're projecting onto you. I've been criticized because of the fact that I'm an MBA, or because of the fact that I'm an engineer at the same time. I've been criticized for a number of things that have nothing to do with me, but everything to do with the experience that, whoever is criticizing me, their life experience, it has everything to do with that. Nothing to do with me. And basically there's nothing that you can do about it. So don't let those, when you're faced with these criticisms, when you're faced with these undeserving criticisms, and you are searching for these opportunities, or what's really behind these criticisms, and you find nothing, simply just move on. Don't let it affect you. No need to react. You just know that it's nothing to do with you. It's nothing about you. It's only what's going on in that individual's brain or in their mind. So it's the conversation that's going on in their mind. It's whatever they're projecting onto you. So if it has nothing to do with you, if you basically can't see any opportunities there, just simply move on. That's how you build resilience. That's how you build thick skin. And I know how hard this sounds. I know how hard it is to do nothing and to walk away and just let it be, let things be, especially when you're being criticized, where you don't deserve to be criticized. It's tough, but I know that if you react, that it's only going to do more harm to your career any good. So just walk away. It's not about you, it's about them. For those criticisms where you do discover there's an opportunity beneath there, when you learn how to handle those better, when you pause, when you try to find those opportunities for growth and take advantage of those opportunities for growth, and the more often you do it, just like those TIE fighter shins, you will emerge more resilient. You will emerge thicker skinned. Alright, hey, Amir Bradley here. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you did, there's a few things that we can do to make sure that you continue on your journey. First, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel where you will be notified of when I release my next video. The second thing you can do is you can download my free ebook called Fast Track, the 10 Principles to Put Your Career on the Fast Track. And what you will learn in that ebook are the things that you can do to accelerate your career. And the third thing you can do is you can join me on Facebook, where I share daily insights and inspiration to help you get energized for your workday. So thank you once again for watching my video. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in my next video.